call it, in my problem, am I giving you the case? I already told you this, they are easy to love. So that's easy. This is the situation, though, is the situation is this, that God does not always bring you people that are easy to love. And God doesn't always give you circumstances that are easy to love. Huh? You agree? See, she agrees with that. And you probably agree the same thing, except sometimes you blame it on the enemy. That Satan brought you the circumstances. I don't care who brought you the circumstances, because God will use it whether he orchestrates it or whether the enemy brings them up to you. And he'll use them to make you a better lover with agape love. You know, if I want my tennis players to become better tennis players, I can't just give them the softies. I cannot give them the easy wins. 6-1, 6-1. Oh, coach, I won 6-1, 6-1. I said, well, okay, well, congratulations, okay. But I was hoping for a closer match. I want a 6-4, 4-6, 8-10. Okay, you know, that's the ones I want, because those are, you had many points that were pressure points. 6-1, 6-1, they were not pressure points. But we want to love 6-1, 6-1. We want the easy ones. So we're looking for soft targets to love, and we do pretty good at it. But oh, if God brings somebody across our path that is difficult to love, we try to shun them. And we forfeit the opportunity that God has brought us to become greater, stronger, better lovers in Christ. We forfeit the opportunity. I saw an interview yesterday. Two tennis players were interviewing each other in front of the camera. And so, what is your greatest wish for 2023, tennis-wise? The other guy says, have you heard of a guy named Novak Djokovic? Novak Djokovic is the #1 player in the world, considered now best tennis player ever to play tennis. Because, not only because somebody made that judgment, because his record shows it. He has, you know what a Grand Slam tournament is? It's one of the four. One of, you know, Wimbledon, US Open, Australian Open, French Open. Okay, one of those four. If you win one of those, then you're considered a great player. So, yeah, a guy named Sampras, Pete Sampras, has won 14 of those. And when he won the 14th, people said nobody will be able to break this record. Then came Federer. Federer has 20 of them. Nadal had 20 of them. Then Nadal had 21. One of the reasons is because Djokovic didn't want to be vaccinated, and he says, therefore he couldn't go to the Australian Open, and he was to sit out. And then they didn't even let him play the US Open either that year. So I think to myself, a man with that kind of conviction, I love it. Then he won this now US Open, just passed, number 23. So he is a great player and considered the best, record-wise, the best to ever play the game. And this guy in the interview, you remember, I went a long way to tell you, bring it back now, the one player was interviewing the other one. What is your greatest desire for 2023? He says, my greatest desire for 2023 is to share the tennis court with Novak Djokovic. It's not like, I don't want to play Novak Djokovic. He's too good. It won't be a pleasant experience. No, it'd be the best experience you'll ever have to be able to compete with such a great tennis player. What possible things can you learn from him that will help you to become also a greater tennis player and a better competitor? What things can you learn when God orchestrates difficult circumstances for you and difficult people to love? How great can your love become? Don't look for just soft targets. Love must be sincere. Paul is saying in Romans the 12th chapter, verse 9a. 9 has love must be sincere, hate what is evil, cling to what is good. It's sort of like a triplet thing. The A part is love must be sincere. When you hear that, when you read that, when you think love must be sincere, Paul, come on now. Of course love must be sincere. Why even writing it down? Love must be sincere. But then think, well, if he writes that down, there must be a meaning behind it. What is the meaning behind it? And I'm thinking, this is my thinking, this is my opinion now, I'm telling you, this is not what Paul is explaining someplace, but that's one of the things that I have to surmise that Paul is meaning, is that people were talking about having love for one another when their love was not sincere. And he said, no. The King James says, let love be without hypocrisy. No, you were play acting. Hypocrisy, hypocrite is play acting somebody. It's an actor. The Greek actually means acting. It's like acting out, but you're not it. You're just acting it out. You don't have real love. You're just acting it out like you were. And Paul is saying, hey, love must be sincere, or else it's simply not love. And this agape love, you remember a guy named Keith Lawrence? Big old guy. He had a ministry called Grace House, I think it was, where women that had difficulty, maybe had been in prison a little bit or in jail a little bit or maybe drugs or whatever, these type of things, then they would go to Grace House for 9 months, get trained, get educated, get biblical instruction, and then they would be put back, quote unquote, back on the street with lots of accountability and these type of things. And great success stories. And so, to look for prospects that could qualify for Grace House, there was no cost involved. They didn't have to pay. It was free. He got money from people that would donate to this ministry to help women get back on their feet, right? That's a super duper ministry. And he would go to the local jail to see if he could see some ladies there that might qualify for the Grace House. And so he told me this story, so I didn't make this up. Not that like I've made up anything else, but he told me this story, and it made an impact on me because it made the point so direct and so strong. And I've told you this before, because it's just reminders, remember, so you've probably heard it all before. But he told me, he says, I was in the jail, and the first lady that walks up to me, she says, hey, let me ask you a question. Do you get paid to come over here? And he says, no, I don't get paid. Besides, I have to take off from work to come over here, pay my own gas, and on so forth. So let me ask you, what was this lady asking him in reality? Huh? Do you really care? Are you here for you because you get paid? Or are you here for me? That's what she was asking. When he explained to her that he had to pay his own way and he had to take off from work, she said, hey, ladies, come over here. There's a man that cares about us. And they called the other ladies to come listen to this man who loves them, who showed love. Now, there's nothing wrong for getting paid to come see them. But if you explain to them that you don't get paid, all argument is muted right then and there. They immediately get the point that you care for them. And it's not about the money. It is not about you. It's about them. love must be sincere. If it is going to be sincere, it must be about the other person. Love must be sincere. I love that story. I love that story because I can see clearly. Because it's not like the ladies in jail are shy or whatever. You know, they come straight to the point. Are you here for me or for you? And if you're here for you, we don't want any part of it. If you're here for us, I call the other ladies too. Now we have an audience. Now we have a group of people that want to hear what you have to say. Because you have shown, you have explained to me that you're here for us. You care. Love must be sincere. So I'm going to close pretty quick. It says in the Corinthian letter, love is patient, love is kind. Yes? Yeah? And then goes on to say another things. I don't want to get your mind to go all these other places. I just want to concentrate on patient and kind. So, this is the question. Your best friend. Is your best friend flawed? Okay, there's three or four of you. Like, there's a question. We're all flawed. Every single one of us. My wife is also flawed. Right? Right? She's flawed. Except I'm more flawed than she is flawed. But the question is, when her flaws show up, does my patience and my kindness show up or not? It should. No, we all agree that it should. My question was not, should you? The question was, does it show up? You see? Because this is the idea, this is the test of your love. When she is in a bad mood. You know, sometimes they have a little PMS or something like that. Does your patience and your kindness show up or doesn't it? Is it absent or is it present? I'm going on before I get myself in trouble. Oh, she says I'm already in trouble. So then my last point, okay, the last point is point number 7. What does it say there? Oh, somebody misspelled that. Well, this was the situation. This was the situation. They asked a little girl that had gone to Sunday school. When she came home, the parents asked her, so what did you learn in Sunday school? She says, well, love one another. And the parents were shocked how much insight this mistake actually had in it. That you're not going to win anybody without love. I'm not talking about winning them for salvation, that, although that's included also. You won't get an audience if you don't love people. Yes? And folks, if there's not anybody in this room, I can preach all the preaching I want. I can share the gospel all I want. Nobody's going to get saved. There's nobody here. If you're going to have an audience, it's because you care for people and they want to come hear what you have to say. Ish. Especially when people know that you care. For example, I've gone in the prison many times. A guy named Bill Glass. I have my silver cross. It is not silver, but it is made out of the steel of the bars in the prisons. So when you go there, they explain, the Bill Glass and his crew explain that these men that you see here in civilian clothes, they have taken off from work. They are paying their own way over here, their own gasoline and their own food. And of course, sometimes we eat in the prison also. And they pay their own hotel. So we want you to know that they care about you. They love you. And they have wanted to come over here to share the best news in the land with you. So, and then they say, so hey, after then they have some of the Christian, whatever. So one guy did the, how do you call the yo-yo thing? Is that a yo-yo? Okay, yo-yo, and he was world champion yo-yo. So he'd have you put a match in your mouth, here, between your teeth, and sticks out this far, and he would yo-yo it and light the match, pow, with his yo-yo. He was good. So there would be several demonstrations like that. There was a lady, I forget her name. She was maybe Tanya, forget her name. It's a long time ago. She was a basketball handler. Fantastic. So at one point, she would balance 10 basketballs, one on something in her mouth that's sticked up. So she twists the ball and puts it on that thing. It keeps going. Then there were others that she would, by her elbow, by her knees, or by her feet, or whatever. 10 balls that spun all at one time, and it had that spun at the same time. So it was intriguing, it was fun, it was entertaining for the prisoners. And then they say, okay, now, and they would share then a little bit of testimony. And then they say, go visit these civilian guys, and they will tell you the best news of the land. And then you just go for them, and you visit with them, and you talk with them. And this is my last story, I'm closing. So one of the trips, they sent me to a segment where there were sex offenders and all that whole lot. Matter of fact, I'm sitting across the table with one guy sharing a little bit with him about the 4 spiritual laws, and somebody walks by and blows smoke in my face. We were warned by our leader, Bill Glass, who's passed away now, God rest his soul, that, folks, if you cannot love such a person, you're free to go to the hotel and get right with God. Because you are not going to fool these guys over here. They are the guys that fool other people. You can't fool them. So if you have no genuine love, don't go in there, because you're not going to be able to share with them. Nobody's going to even come talk to you. But if you are right with God and you can love these kind of people, then go on in. And I went in, and I realized exactly what he was talking about, because these guys were not easy to love. But boys, some of them saw the light, and what a joy it was when they received Jesus Christ. Then I always wondered, well, who is doing discipleship? We're going and we evangelize them, and they find Jesus, but no, we found out that there's also a discipleship program. People come afterwards to disciple these inmates. Otherwise, it would be just getting them to heaven, and then while they're still on hell here on earth. But you want to heaven on earth as well, as best you can, so then you disciple them, and then relationships getting better. They are reconciling at home with other people, and so on and so forth. People that come to visit them, and things are getting better little by little in their lives. And so such was my friend Murph the Surf. Murph the Surf, I love Murph the Surf. There was a museum, or there's a museum in New York, where it had some of these big jewel stones, precious stones, that were under such strict security that people said they might come in and get them, but they can't get out with them. He went in and got them, and got out with them. Young guy, couldn't keep his mouth shut. Started bragging all over the place. Then they found him, and then the judge, he hadn't killed anybody or whatever. The judge tried to make an example of him, gave him 2 lives plus 20 years. Way too much. But then Bill Glass came to that prison also, and they shared the gospel with Murph the Surf. Jack Murphy is his real name. I love Jack Murphy. And he stayed at our house. Beautiful violinist. Oh, Brian. Have you met him? Oh, you would love him. a virtuoso. He's a virtuoso violinist. He was a great tennis player and loved to serve. He was a great surfer also. He did everything, and a painter of stuff. And so in his prison, then he received Jesus Christ. And then ultimately, because he had such good behavior, and people were pleading on his behalf so much, that ultimately they let him out, obviously under supervision and so on and so forth. He had to report to the officer every once in a while, I don't know how often. And he had to be really, really careful also, because he was doing so well. He was a talent. And when he spoke about Jesus in the prison, I wanted to do something for Jesus. He fired me up. Where's the serve? And he's passed away now. But that's who he was. He found Jesus also, and everything changed in his life. Everything changed in his life. He got married with Kitten, was her name. Kitten, and they both stayed at our house. I loved having them. And then one time we played in a church, and I played a song. You know, I'm not a guitarist. If you play guitar at all, then you know that. Oh, sorry, Stephen. Sorry, Steve. Steve says, don't say that, Kenny. And he was playing the violin behind me and making the mood of the song. It was He's Alive song. I just know how to pluck it a little bit on the guitar. He's alive, he's alive. And he played the violin and made it sound so good. He's one of the guys that he makes you look good. You know, Merv the serve. God saved his soul, and he did a work for Jesus hardly paralleled by other folks. And when he got in then they let him go back to the prison to minister, to testify. I mean, miraculously, because otherwise it's not typically allowed. And when he spoke their language, and I marveled at how he would speak to them, and how the guys would had only ears for him, and then they come a big circle around him afterwards of people that had questions, and then he got to testify to them about Jesus Christ. One who loved the Lord and loved in such a way that many people wanted to come hear what he had to say. So I gave you some of these reminders, and I'm going to give you a couple more reminders, maybe next week. Maybe two in one. One that has to do with assembling together. Do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together, as the manner of some is. But he says, especially in these days, stir one another up to love and good works. So there is a real benefit in coming together. And I don't have to share the message now. And then the last one is going to be grow in grace. Grow in grace. Reminder. So let us pray. I tell you, I get so excited. You get the idea excited? Forgive me, okay? But the Word of